Assalamualaikum to everyone. My name is Nur Fitri Fatiha binti Abdul Awam.
Hello everyone, I'm Nurul Adnina binti Muhammad Amin.
Assalamualaikum and hi everyone, I am Nur Sufyana.
Hello, my name is Muhammad Syahrul Yuzi.
Pasangan suami isteri yang disyaki terlibat dalam kes dera seorang kanak-kanak perempuan berusia 3 tahun yang meninggal dunia di Hospital Jitra pada Khamis ditahan.
First, I will explain the type of child abuse. The first type of child abuse is physical abuse. Injuries such as punching, kicking, shaking, stabbing, choking, burning, or inflicting other types of bodily pain are examples of physical abuse that happens to children. The second type of child abuse is neglect. Neglect is defined as the failure of a parent or other caregiver to provide a child's basic requirements. The third type of child abuse is sexual abuse. It is when the parents or other caregiver doing things like touching a kid inappropriately, incest, rape, indecent exposure, and exploitation through prostitution, or other creation of pornographic content. Last but not least, emotional abuse, which is also known as psychological abuse, is a pattern of behavior from a parent to a child. It may affect a child's emotional growth and also may affect the feeling of words of the child. To recognize the signs of child abuse, we need to know the symptoms of it. One of the symptoms is when the child shows a kind of weird behaviors. They may be experiencing physical abuse. The behavior such as acting scared, anxious, depressed, withdrawn, or aggressive, as well as having unexplained wounds like burns, bites, bruises, broken bones, or a black eye, as well as having fading bruises or other visible marks after missing school. This behavior may indicate that the child is being neglected. For instance, a frequent absence from schools, begging or theft of food or cash, and a lack of access to necessary medical treatment, such as when she gets the bruises but she didn't get the proper treatment from the hospital. It is the signs of a child being neglected. Children also may be a victim of sexual abuse if they show any of these symptoms. For instance, they may have trouble standing or sitting, suffers from swelling, bruising, or bleeding in their private areas, or abrupt change in appetite, sudden refusal to go to school, or reports of nightmares or bedwetting, or exhibit strange, sophisticated, or uncommon sexual knowledge of behavior. A child also may frequently experience emotional maltreatment, or known as emotional abuse, if they show any of these symptoms, including extreme behaviors such as being excessively submissive or assertive. Passive or aggressive are all examples of extreme behavior. The children also may have delays in physical or emotional development. To sum up, it is very critical to understand the signs and symptoms in order to assist victims in breaking free from abuse and to create a better society and environment for our future leaders. That's all from me. I will pass the presentation to the next presenter.
Let us continue to the causes for child abuse. According to research by Hantesi 2014, abuse and neglect increase the chance of young people having suicidal ideation and attempting suicide. Hantesi discovered a high association between physical and sexual abuse and attempted suicide or suicidal ideation during adolescence in a systematic review. In addition, in a systematic review of the literature, Hantesi also discovered that while all forms of maltreatment were related to adolescent suicidal ideation and suicide attempts, child sexual abuse and emotional abuse were found to be more important than physical abuse or neglect. In support of this, Hantesi discovered that youth with a history of sexual abuse were 8 times more likely to attempt suicide. According to the authors, which is Hantesi, sexual abuse may be attributed to suicidal behavior since it is clearly connected to emotions of shame and internal attributions of blame. In addition, children exposed to abuse and neglect are more likely to inflict pain on others and develop aggressive and violent tendencies in adolescence, according to Gilbert et al. 2005. Physical abuse and exposure to familial violence are the most constant predictors of teenage violence, according to research by Gilbert et al. 2009 and Mess et al. 2008. Gilbert and colleagues conducted a meta-analysis that found strong connections between child abuse and neglect and criminal behavior in both prospective and retrospective studies. According to the research conducted by the National Institute of Justice in the United States, abused and neglected adolescents are 11 times more likely to be arrested for criminal activity during adolescence by English, Widom and Brantford 2004. Moreover, 83% of youngsters in Victoria's Take Two program engage in repeated and severe violence against others by Federico et al. 2008. All in all, this is not how children should feel. Every child deserves to have a safe, healthy childhood and the chance to develop normally as adults who can help others and create a healthy community.
I will continue the presentations about the impact that leads to child abuse, which is financial difficulty. Financial difficulties were highlighted by the majority of respondents, which is 87.5% as the factor that drive people to commit act of child abuse. Working and relying on the insufficient income of the spouse, as well as lack of motivations, were recognized as contributing factor in the parents turning to child abuse. Conger et al. 1994 discovered that economic limit experienced by parents raise emotional stress, which can lead to sudden infuriations, rage, and also tendency to turn these aggravations toward their children when they are stressed. Regarding to Berger and Brook-Gunn 2005, this finding is supported by a study that found that parental conduct and socioeconomic positions play a major role in the risk of abuse among mothers. Most incidents of child abuse, according to Shang and Widom 2005, can be explained by looking at the underlying socio-economic conditions, particularly high poverty rates among parents with numerous children. Other impact that leads to the child abuse is children misbehavior. According to the finding of this study, half of the respondents, which is 50%, believe that children misbehavior is the primary cause of the child abuse instances. The majority of parents reported their frustrations and indignations that their child's misbehavior has tested their patience, leading them to take action that were regarded wrong even to the point of child abuse. According to Daggett et al. 2000s, parents have unrealistic expectations for their children's development and progress, where they frequently believe that children are intentionally engaged in harmful behavior and as a result, they need to be punished, leading to the physical abuse. Furthermore, according to Otis 1996, children with behavioral issues are more likely to be abused. Children involved in incidents of physical abuse have also been recognized as children with behavioral difficulties, such as hostility, according to Okafi 1995. Realizing feeling in a negative way towards a child can harm the parents as well as the child. Parents should be reminded that the child is not an object for them to realize their stress or problem. Therefore, it is important to prevent parental negative emotions in order to avoid the child's abuse and the neglect. That's all from me. We will move to the next presenter. Thank you.
Now, I will present about the solution for the child abuse. Okay, the first main point is prevention is more effective in child abuse when parents are involved in the services. The supporting detail is first is if parents feel isolated, they may make poor decisions that can lead to abuse or neglect. The second supporting detail is when parents and caregivers are supported by families, friends, neighbors, and community, they are less likely to experience stress from routine parenting duties, and they are able to focus more easily on providing safe and healthy homes for their children. Third supporting detail is circle of parents provide a friendly, supportive environment led by parents and other caregivers, where anyone in parenting role can openly discuss the success and challenge raising a children. The fourth supporting details for this main point is the Friend National Center for CBCAP websites offer education and support programs designed to give parents the tool they need to become more confident and build relationship with other parents. The next main point is individual action is the first step in helping children who have been abused or neglected while learning to recognize the sign of child abuse and neglect. The first supporting detail is if you suspect a child being abused or neglect, report your concerns, may protect that child and get help for a family who needs it. Second, offer to babysit, help with chores and errands, or suggest resource in the community. Third, lend a hand at local schools, community, or faith-based organizations, children's hospital, social service agency, or other place where families and children are supported. And last, start a neighborhood watch or plan a local national night out policing awareness community event. Then, for the conclusion, prevention of child abuse can be started by the parents itself, as they are the first guider and teacher for the child. This is important for the child as it can prevent them from getting depression, developmental impairments, and the chance of developing substance dependence when they become an adult. An individual action also can be taken if there are signs of child abuse happen for the victim, so that it can help to protect and solve the problem for the child. And last, it was our responsibility to help the children from being abused, as the way to prevent is more effective than to solve for it. That's all. Thank you.
In conclusion, we have to be aware that child abuse is including physical abuse, neglect, sexual abuse, and emotional maltreatment. To recognize child abuse, we need to be alert to signs and symptoms of the child behavior. Understanding the elements that contribute to child abuse is critical to developing successful solutions to address the issue, so that individual action also be taken if there are signs of child abuse happen for the victim, so that it can help to protect and solve the problem for the child. And on that final note, that concludes our presentation.